An estimated 80 to 90% of New Year's resolutions fail by the end of February. But what if I told you that's actually by design? The way we've been taught to set resolutions is neurologically programmed for failure. And today I'm showing you what to do instead and why starting fresh on January 1st might be the worst thing that you can do. Hi, I'm John Ryan. I'm a master trainer and coach and founder of NLP Unlimited, where I train coaches and I coach leaders. And we're in that unique window right now at the time of this recording between Christmas and New Year's, where everyone's thinking about fresh starts, new goals, and what they want to achieve in the coming year. And I want to talk about why most of that energy is about to be completely wasted. And it's not because you're not capable, nor is it because you lack discipline, but because the traditional New Year's resolution approach is neurologically designed to fail. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand why January 1st is actually a terrible time to start making changes, the psychological trap that makes resolutions feel exciting in December and impossible by February, and the NLP technique that reprograms your subconscious for lasting change. Not just temporary motivation. This isn't about trying harder in the coming year. It's about being different. Let's dive in. Here's the pattern that seemingly everyone follows. In December, we get excited about New Year, New Me. Then in the first week of January, we still have high motivation and we take massive action. But then the rest of the month, our motivation begins to fade, and then our old patterns start to creep back in until we find ourselves by the end of February back to exactly where we were before. Plus, with the bonus of guilt and shame. But that was so fun, we decided to repeat the whole thing the following year. Let's take a look at a few reasons as to why this happens. Number one, the arbitrary start date fallacy. January 1st feels significant, but to your unconscious mind, it's just another day. There's nothing neurologically special about it. We're trying to force change based on a calendar date instead of internal readiness. And your brain doesn't operate on calendar years. It operates on identity, patterns, and nervous system states. When you try to change just because it's January 1st, you're fighting against your entire psychological operating system. The second reason we struggle is the new me identity crisis. When you say new year, new me, your unconscious mind hears everything about me is wrong and needs to be replaced. And that creates massive internal resistance because your unconscious mind's number one job is to keep you safe, both physically and psychologically. And that means you also need to be consistent with your identity. So it sabotages the change to protect who you are. So you're not failing because you lack willpower, you're failing because you're trying to abandon yourself completely instead of evolving from where you are now. And the third reason we struggle is the outcome obsession. Most resolutions are outcome focused. Lose 30 pounds, make 6 figures, find a relationship, but outcomes are future-based and your brain lives in the present moment. Every day you're not at the outcome, you're reinforcing that belief that I'm not there yet. That means I'm failing. And that creates a stress response which puts you in survival mode, which makes change even harder. So we're stuck in a loop of striving, failing, followed by self-judgment. And the real problem is you're trying to change your behavior without changing your identity. You're trying to force outcomes without embodying the person who naturally creates those outcomes. And you're using an arbitrary calendar date as your motivation instead of deep internal alignment. That's why it fails every single time. And to help us break that negative cycle, here's what you're going to learn today. The Identity First Framework, how to become the person who naturally achieves the goal instead of trying to force the outcome. You're also going to learn the bridge technique, how to honor who you are now while evolving into who you're becoming. No more new me rejection. You're also going to learn the New Year integration process, a step-by-step NLP method to align your conscious goals with your subconscious identity, which leads us into the micro identity shift, why small daily embodiment beats massive January action every single time. And lastly, how to start before January 1st, because waiting for the new year is sabotaging you, and what to do instead. By the end, you'll have a completely different approach to the coming year, one that's sustainable, aligned, and inevitable. No more resolution graveyard, no more February failure, just steady, embodied transformation. To do that, let's look at 5 core principles. Principle number 1, you don't need a new you need an evolved you. The new year, new me narrative is psychologically violent. It tells your unconscious mind that everything you currently are is wrong and needs to be erased. Your unconscious mind responds by clinging harder to your current identity because change feels like annihilation. It feels like a death. To fix that, we need to shift our mindset to integration, not replacement. You're not becoming a new person, you're becoming the next version of yourself. Think of it like software updates for your phone. You don't completely delete your phone and then install the next operating system. Instead, you integrate the upgrade while keeping the foundation. And to help us integrate the old and new that's emerging, we might want to use the bridge identity statement. Instead of saying new year, new me, we can use I'm evolving into the version of me who, and then we fill in the blank. So I'm evolving into the version of me who honors my body daily. I'm evolving to the version of me who creates value effortlessly, who serves others. Or I'm evolving to the version of me who leads with confidence. This language honors where you are now while creating space for growth. And your unconscious mind doesn't resist because you're not rejecting it. You're simply upgrading it. Principle number 2, start before the starting line. We want to get a running start. Waiting until January 1st to start is actually a trap. Why? Because you're conditioning yourself to believe that change only happens on special dates in the future. That's not transformation, that's procrastination. Transformation requires a fresh start, but real change doesn't wait for permission from a calendar. It happens the moment that you decide. To overcome that, we want to start becoming now. Don't wait for January 1st to start the new behavior. Use the time between now and then to install the identity before you even get to January 1st. And as you start to lock in that behavior, you can ask yourself, who is the version of me that I'm becoming in this upcoming year? How do they think? How do they move? How do they show up daily? What's one micro action that I can take today that aligns with that identity? And why this works is by the time January 1st arrives, you've already been living as that person for days, if not weeks. So you're not starting from scratch, you're continuing momentum. An object in motion tends to stay in motion. So you end up bypassing the New Year motivation spike and crash cycle entirely. Principle number 3 is identity over outcome. This is the core principle from the goal setting paradox, but it's even more critical for New Year's resolutions. Most resolutions are outcome based. Lose weight, make money, get promoted, but outcomes are outside of your control. Identity is completely within your control. To help us with that, we want to become first and achieve second. Ask yourself, who do I need to become for this outcome to be inevitable? For example, don't resolve to lose 30 pounds. Instead, become someone who moves joyfully and nourishes their body. Don't resolve to make 6 figures. Become someone who creates massive value and thinks like an entrepreneur. And don't resolve to get promoted. Become someone who leads, communicates clearly, and takes initiative. When you shift identity first, the behaviors become automatic and the outcome becomes inevitable. And to help you experience this, let's do a little bit of an exercise. Now, assuming you're not driving or operating heavy machinery, just go ahead and close your eyes, take a moment, close your eyes, and imagine it's December 31st, and you're looking back on the year. And just to ask yourself and respond to who did you become this year? How do you feel about yourself now? What are you most proud of? And step into that version of you. Look through your own eyes. What does this person feel? And ask yourself, who am I now? What do I believe about myself? And after you're done, come back to now and take time to write that down. I am someone who, and then fill in the blank. That's your identity shift. It starts in the mind. Stephen Covey used to say, everything is created twice, first in the mind, then in reality. So once you have that vision, then it's about being that person today. Principle number 4 is micro identity shifts are more important than massive action. January 1st energy says, go big or go home. Overhaul everything. So what do? You join the gym, you start the diet, you launch the business, you start waking up at 5 a.m., you journal, you meditate, you cold plunge. You read all things at once, but by January 15th, you're exhausted and you're back to your old patterns. So instead of trying to do everything everywhere all at once, we want to do one micro identity action daily instead of overhauling your entire life. Ask yourself, what's one small action that I can take today that's consistent with who I'm becoming? For example, becoming someone who honors their body naturally leads to drinking water first thing in the morning. Or becoming someone who creates value leads to write one valuable post today. Or becoming someone who leads to having one conversation today. And why this works is your unconscious mind doesn't resist small changes. It resists massive overhauls. Every micro action you do is a vote for your new identity. So over time, those votes add up and your identity begins to shift permanently. And by the end of the year, you won't even recognize who you were back in January. Not because you forced change, but because you became a different person, not all at once, but one day at a time. And principle number 5, set themes, not goals. Instead of setting 10 different resolutions, choose one identity theme for the coming year, one word or phrase that captures who you're becoming. So for example, if your theme was embodiment, you might have a phrase such as, everything I do aligns with who I'm becoming. If you're focusing on courage, I take aligned action even when I'm afraid. And as you progress through the year, you can ask yourself, does this behavior, does this activity I'm engaging in, does it align with my theme? Is this who I'm really becoming? Is this who I want to become? And this creates clarity, it reduces decision fatigue, and keeps you aligned all year long. I started working with a client last December, and he shared with me for the last several years, he'd set the same resolution. He said, this is the year that I'm going to build my business. And he'd start strong. He'd do website updates, content plans, outreach, but by the end of March, he was back to his 9-to-5, telling himself that maybe next year was his year. So when he came to me, we started working together, I asked him, so what if this year wasn't about building a business? What if this was about becoming an entrepreneur? Initially, he looked a little confused until I walked him through the process. Step 1, we identified his identity. Not, I want to have a business. Instead, it became, I am becoming someone who creates value in things like an entrepreneur. Step 2, we created the vision. He visualized himself December 31st, fully embodied as an entrepreneur, and we installed that identity. In step 3, we started before January 1st. I told him, don't wait, start being that person today. And he took one micro action that led to another, and that week he posted one piece of valuable content online, and that became a domino effect for him. That's it. No business plan, no website overhaul, just one aligned action. What happened? By January, he wasn't starting his business, he was already being an entrepreneur. And he kept taking micro actions all year long, posting content, having conversations, offering value. And not long after, he had his first paying client. And by the end of the year, he'd replace his 9-to-5 income. But here's what matters most. He didn't achieve the goal, he became the person who naturally creates that result. It wasn't the year that Chris built a business, it was the year Chris became an entrepreneur. The business was just the evidence. So how do we put this into play? Step 1, define your identity, not your goals. Ask, who do I want to become this year? Not what do I want to achieve? What's one word or theme that captures that identity? And how will I know when I've become that person? And write it down. By the end of next year, or by this year, depending on when you're doing it, I'm becoming someone who, and we fill in the blank. Step 2, create the future vision. Close your eyes if appropriate, and imagine it's December 31st and you're looking back on the year and you're proud. You become the person who you set out to become. And notice, how do you feel about yourself? What are you most proud of? And what daily actions did you take to help you get there? And step into that version of you and feel what they feel and ask, who am I now? And write down that identity statement. Step 3, identify your micro-identity action. What's one small daily action that aligns with who you're becoming? And make it so small that your unconscious mind can't resist it. For example, 5 minutes of movement, one paragraph of writing, or even one deep, courageous conversation. And commit to that one action daily throughout the year. And step 4, start today. Don't wait for January 1st. Take your micro action today and do the same thing tomorrow. And by January 1st, you're already living as that person. You're not starting, you're just continuing. Unless, of course, it's after January 1st, in which case, just start today. And step 5, the daily identity check-in. Every morning, read your identity statement. I am becoming someone who is, and fill in the blank. Close your eyes and step into that identity for at least 60 seconds. And ask, what would that version of me do today? And then take that micro action. And every night, reflect, did I show up as that person today? And celebrate when you do, and notice the evidence of you evolving. This daily practice reprograms your unconscious mind over time. All right, so how do we turn this information into action? Here's what I want you to do. Go ahead and comment below. What's your identity theme for the coming year? Who are you becoming this year? I read every comment and I definitely want to hear your words. Number 2, don't wait for January 1st. And if it's after January 1st, that's fine too. It's never too late to create change and create momentum. Take your first micro-identity action today. Right now, show your unconscious mind that change doesn't need permission from a calendar or anyone else. And number 3, if you want to go deeper into identity-based transformation and NLP techniques that make change effortless, the kind of work that creates lasting shifts, not just New Year's motivation, I want to invite you to our NLP Coach Practitioner Certification Training. This is where you learn how to facilitate this kind of transformation for yourself and for others. You'll learn future pacing, identity integration, unconscious reprogramming, and this is the complete NLP Coach Practitioner Toolkit. Check the link in the description to learn more. And lastly, if you enjoyed the content, subscribe and hit the notification bell to continue the conversation. Remember, this isn't about becoming a new you, it's about becoming the next most evolved version of you. Until next time, develop yourself, empower others, and lead by example.